Bachelor in Paradise is back this week, and things are getting twisted and heated with Splitsville, where the guys and girls have been divided. We're going to get all into it, so welcome back to our channel. I'm your host, Zachary Reality, with Allison Van Dam. And before we get started, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. We also have our live chat going on right now, so feel free to put in your questions and your opinions. Allison, how are you doing? What did you think of this major twist?
I'm doing well. Been hard at work. I had a big interview, big bachelor day on Sunday, so I kind of feel like it's Wednesday instead of Tuesday. But I mean, we all saw this coming, didn't we? Like, if we dissect the teasers here at Shared News to the point where when Kayla and I broke this down last week, we were able to see who made it out of the rose ceremony based on the group shot. So it's like, I don't think anyone was surprised by this because of how much they've been teasing it. Did I expect this many tears from all of the women? No, there was a lot of crying shots, and I kind of wish that we had just moved it along a little bit. But it's definitely, I mean, it's something they've never done before, and I'm wondering if, based on the experience this season, will they do it again next summer, or will they just say this is far too much drama?
If they even get another season, I honestly don't even know how this show will get renewed because I think that everyone is just so bored watching it. And I actually like the twist though, because I do think that it spices things up. I think that it like makes it different because like we kind of know everything that's going to happen, but we don't really know how this twist is going to work because since there's going to be guys coming to the girls, like do the girls just like go back? Do the guys come back? Like what if the new guys that came in like the new girls that came in? So I wonder how they're going to navigate the next rose ceremony. Do you have any idea how they're going to do that?
No, I mean, it just complicates everything, right? Because it's like we have relationships that are already established. Who is going to stay true to their partner? Who's going to just kind of explore options? I mean, in other reality shows that do this, it's not to be stereotypical, but it kind of feels like it's usually the guys who have more of a wandering eye than the girls do. But it's going to be interesting to see, like, do people's insecurities get the best of them? Do they kind of just throw away their previous relationships? But I'm with you. I feel like it's kind of these people coming in late have a disadvantage because what if they wanted to meet someone who is also a latecomer, but now the girls and the guys are over at a hotel and these new girls are down at the beach? They have no opportunity to meet the new guys who just came in as well.
There's something clearly wrong with like the formatting, which I think is why they wanted to try things differently this year because there's definitely people that like want to cross paths and like I even heard that Justin might end up coming back too, kind of like how Kira came back because he might want to pursue
Hmm.
Eliza. So it's like how did he end up like going home and coming back? Like maybe they should just have everyone on the beach and then they should just vote people off like they do Survivor, like they did with Peter this episode. But I do want to like ask you about who we think is going to swap at the end. But we got to talk about what happened at the beginning of this episode because Michael A was telling Wells how lonely he was, and Jared and Ashley said goodbye. So I mean, are we sad to see Ashley go?
No, and that's no offense to them. They are, lovely, lovely couple, beautiful child. So that's not like an anti Jared or Ashley, but we're already feels like short on time despite having 2 episodes a week. And I would rather have a date card go to a new potential couple than as kind of like an anniversary present to them, if that makes sense. Like obviously they are a success story. I like that they came down. Obviously they want to show people it works, but they stayed a very long time. And I was kind of sick and tired of hearing if things were successful or not successful in the boom boom room. I really felt like that was an overstep and I didn't need to know.
It was definitely their time, but I wanted them to host the rose ceremony or like at least give each other a rose just to kind
Mm.
of complete it. They didn't do that last week, right?
No, there wasn't a rose. And also, I'm with you because it kind of feels like they've been the ones living there, experiencing all of this. Jesse Palmer just kind of showing up to make random announcements. I'm like, sir, you haven't even been here. What I would like is even just throw me a couple like scenes of Jesse just hanging out with Wells at the bar because it's like it feels odd to me to have him show up and like check in and ask questions or reveal this huge twist when he really doesn't know what's been happening on the beach.
I saw him like fist pound a couple of the guys. I think it was like Andrew and Aaron when they all came in, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess he's like friends with them because he does feel so detached. I think, with having Chris
Mm-hmm.
Harrison for a long time, he was so involved, and then Caitlyn and Tasha obviously felt so relatable, and Wells because they're like, alumni, which Jesse is as well, but from so long ago. So I agree. He really comes in and just shakes things up. And that's exactly what he did tonight when he brought in a new arrival, Danielle, who ended up giving a rose to Michael. We're going to get into that. But let's also talk about Peter. So he went around telling people that Brittany is a clout chaser. She kept bringing up her Instagram and her TikTok, and Casey decided to tell Brittany what Peter was saying, and then she confronted him. What did you think about this mess?
I mean, the Peter of it all, it just felt like they weren't on the same page. They didn't have a good date. That happens. And I think sometimes at this in this show you can spiral as we see, or kind of like panic if you don't have a good date or if you don't have a connection, because it is so fast and there are roses on the line. But I just wish maybe he wouldn't have jumped directly to making accusations of why she was there. Maybe she just wasn't interested. Maybe you're not a good fit. That's not to say, Peter, you're a terrible person. She just wasn't into you. You didn't have that connection. And then, Casey getting involved in it, and then Michael A supporting Casey, and Andrew saying he wished Casey wouldn't have told Brittany. Like, there was just so many players in the game, and I wish it could have just been a more calm discussion between Brittany and Peter. I'm not sure why so many people were getting involved. There was a lot of yelling, there was a lot of passing out. And I will say, I kind of lost a little respect for Jill in this scenario. I get that she was kind of trying to stand up for her friend, but then the second that Casey passed out, she immediately left Peter and was like, "What? What?" and started running up to Kate. It just feels like she needs to be in the middle of every drama that's happening, which makes me think she's actually not there to defend her friend. She just wants to be a part of the drama, which kind of annoys me.
I definitely can understand where you're coming with that perspective with Jill, but I also did kind of look at it as like Brittany's had Jill's back. Because remember with like Romeo, like she tried to kiss Brittany and she was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like me. So I kind of felt like she was
Mm-hmm.
like trying to like return the favor since like maybe they like have some type of bond. But I think with Peter and Brittany, like Peter was being so immature about it. And like maybe Brittany was talking about her Instagram and TikTok. Well, like same. Like I talk about mine all the time too. Like it's not that
Mm-hmm.
serious. Like some of us like to make videos and like are proud of the videos we make. So I feel like Peter just like took one thing to kind of play victim and be like, oh my gosh, like
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't want to be with me because she's all this. And it was just so ridiculous to the point where I did kind of feel bad for him that he got like escorted out and like ripped on. But he was being a little bit of a jerk. And like it was a really obnoxious when he left and he was like, pizza.
Well, he said buongiorno, and then he said the B word, and then he said the Pizza King is out. Like, it was just wild. And to your point, Zach, maybe she's just passionate about that. Maybe she's passionate about videos and creating content. He's clearly passionate about pizza. So you could be like, okay, well, are they talking about their passions on either side? Are they clout chasers? It just feels like a crazy accusation to make about Brittany, which I forget who exactly brought up this point, if it was Michael or Andrew, but something along the lines of, Brittany's had rumors spread about her before in this franchise, and Peter knows that. We're all aware of how she got a bad edit and didn't get off on the right foot on her season because of the rumors of what she did in Chicago. And now she's getting other
Chicago.
things thrown at her. Like, this girl can't catch a break.
I mean, I think she's been like getting some type of a redemption story this season. I mean, also being called a clout chaser is not that big of a deal compared to being called what she was called on Matt's season. So I think she's getting some type of redemption and she's really vibing with Andrew S., who like had her back.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, seeing everyone have each other's back with the friends, but Peter ends up leaving, which I think like, we all knew he was gonna go. It took the girls were trying to kick him out. Which is like kind of, I mean, I get it, right? Like they're the ones giving out roses, but it's also just like you're not producers, like you're not security, like you can't just tell someone to leave.
Yeah, but it's very much like a group mentality. You get a couple drinks in you. This is like similar to if you're at a club and you go into the bathroom and you've all been drinking a little bit and a girl in there is like upset or crying about what a guy did for her. Like, it doesn't really matter if it's your spot. Girls will go crazy to protect other girls, and they will stand up for their girlfriends no matter what. So, it was a very similar vibe, and I blame protect them being protective, but also a lot of margaritas, probably.
Yeah, and the guys went to go confront Peter, but then at that point he was just like, "All right, I'm leaving." And it kind of felt like he was just like chilling on the sand for a while. So he
Mm-hmm.
leaves, and then Casey all of a sudden just gets dizzy and falls. And like, first of all, like I felt bad because like obviously he was maybe stirring the pot, but it's just like, are you okay? Like I didn't really like that
Mm-hmm.
people were bringing up the drama. Like even in the ambulance, he's in the freaking ambulance, and Michael A is like I guess comforting him, or like they're just closing out like the storyline of his drama. I'm like, this guy is about to die. Like someone catch him a break. Like who cares if he stirred the pot?
He was not about to die, Zach. That is taking it one step
He
too
was
far. But I
hurting.
think the reason that people brought that up is not only was he responsible for that, but he kind of blamed the dizziness and the faint on that. When the medic appears, he's fully telling the medic very coherently, saying, "I think I need to be removed from this situation because I can't be here, and this is what's causing it." Like he himself kind of exposed that they were going hand in hand. It wasn't just dehydration, it wasn't just the heat. It
It was the
was
drama.
because exactly, yeah, he said that to the medic of how he
Wow.
shouldn't be there, or he didn't want to be left there. He wanted to be removed from the situation. Again, was that due to ankle pain and wanting to maybe get some extra treatment? Sure, but he was the one that said that of like, I just think this environment is too much. I need to go.
I don't think I've ever fainted because of drama before. But
If
honestly,
you
like he
did,
did
you
end up
wouldn't have a
like getting a
career.
boot. Exactly. But he ended up getting a boot. So I feel bad for him. He posted on his story, I think he had like surgeries and like whatever
Ooh.
else. Like he's still like in pain from this. Like it's actually sad that he fell.
I mean, it totally is sad that he fell, and I'm a fainter myself. It is dangerous. I've busted up my face before. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but yeah, I think it was circumstances, nerves. I mean, maybe he was on the verge of an anxiety attack or panic attack, and these things totally happened, and maybe he just couldn't handle potentially being blamed for something like that, or resulting in all these arguments and Peter going home, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like if something happens on camera, I think it's just part of like being on a TV show or just being a friend to like tell someone like, "Hey, this is what they're saying
Mm-hmm.
about you." So I don't really think Casey did anything wrong. Like I'm sure he instigated a little bit, but that's what they're there for. It's a TV show, which is what some people keep forgetting, especially the girls. We'll get into it. But Michael A, he kind of sobs that no one's there for him, but Danielle walks in, gives him the rose. James attempts to sway Shanae with shrimp tasting, which I thought was a really good scene. It made me so hungry for shrimp. And then the
It looked
roses
so
came
good.
out too. It looked so good. And I think I don't think it was that hard either. Like one of the things was her to guess like
Mm-mm.
shrimp taco. I'm like, obviously you know the texture of a taco.
Yeah, it wasn't like crazy. I wish it would have been different types of shrimp and then just the shrimp. So she would have actually, or maybe if she wouldn't have seen the labels up front because she was just reciting the labels. She was like grilled shrimp with salt and pepper. Like, and that was literally what was on the post-it note.
Yeah, or maybe they could have done like a shrimp, lobster, mussels, and like she had to guess, like or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he tried. James tried to really sway her, which I think he gets points for. But unfortunately, Shanae gave her rose to Logan, Genevieve gave her rose to Aaron, Brittany to Andrew, Lace to Rodney, Danielle to Michael A, Jill to Jacob, Victoria to Johnny, and of course Brandon to Serene. So Justin and James get eliminated. Does any of these roses surprise you? Anyone? Are you sad to see the two of them go?
Justin doesn't surprise me so much. I just think he got so hung up on the Genevieve of it all, and they kind of just like burned that bridge so early, and I didn't see him making any connections. The James and Logan thing, I really didn't know how that was going to go down. She clearly was very into Logan at the front, but then she had a great date with James, so great that she then turned back and said, "You really need to raise the bar." So Logan then does the diving situation, gives her the beads, but then James does the shrimp tasting. So in my mind, it was pretty even in terms of,
Even.
the time they'd spent together, the effort put in. And so that one for me, it was kind of up in the air. I didn't know how it would go. But I was, in a way, I am remaining excited because I think James and Aaron need to have, separate paradise experiences from one
Lives.
another. They're such a package deal that I wonder if that would like inhibit them from really just giving it them their all in the process. So I'm intrigued to see where, Aaron ends up in this, although he and Genevieve seem pretty locked in, but I guess only time will tell.
Well, I mean, I think Erin is there for Genevieve, and I think she's kind of made it clear that, she's ready to be with him. But that whole Justin thing was crazy. Like I said, I think he might come back, but I'm not entirely sure. And I mean, I like Shanae and Logan together, but they're not solid. And like, we'll get into that because now there's all these new girls
Mm-hmm.
here. But Michael A. and Danielle, of course, went on the one on one. And this was a pretty heavy episode in regards to grief. Andrew S. was saying that he was worried his buddy might not be fully ready. And a lot of the viewers kind of felt like that too, like especially with the way he ended things with Sierra. Like he might not be ready to go into a real relationship. But Danielle is different because she's been through grief as well. Her ex fiance passed away a few years ago from a drug overdose, and they really bonded and connected over it. And Michael A. basically said that he can't be with someone who hasn't been scarred. And I thought this was a really like empowering scene. Like obviously it was very like set up the way like she comes in last minute, and clearly they were talking before to some regards, so obviously it
Mm-hmm.
was a connection that was kind of produced, but I felt like it was still genuine and an important conversation to see on TV because so many people can relate to that and sympathize with that.
Oh, totally agree. And I think it's a very mature connection. And I think it is important, like he said, that they have shared that because it doesn't just feel like, Michael's gone through this. And if he was dating someone that had never experienced that type of loss, it's a
Mm-hmm.
learning curve for them. And it's probably a balance of, what does he share? What does he try and deal with on his own? He doesn't want to just dump everything on them. He doesn't want to compare them to Laura. So it's just like there's more mental gymnastics for him to go through to be with someone who maybe hasn't had this shared experience. And I think a lot of people's conversation about the Sierra versus Danielle, it's because Michael, ended things with Sierra, and we've discussed this, saying that he wasn't ready. And I think now that he's has such this instant connection with Danielle, or is at least open to a future and a connection with her, it proves a point that maybe it was less so about him not being ready and maybe more so to do with Sierra. Maybe it was their connection, maybe it was how fast she was moving. He talked about that, but I think maybe he might have used the phrase, I'm not ready, as kind of more of a blanket statement to avoid her being hurt. But that's just my own kind of interpretation of that. But I also thought it was important too that he talks to Danielle and he says, my goal in this would just be to continue dating. He's not in a rush to get engaged, get married, find, James a stepmom. And I think that's important for both of them, having gone through this loss. Danielle's is a little like further back in the past than his is, but taking it slow, making sure this is right for both of them and not rushing into an engagement just because they're on a show.
Yeah, I mean, he made his intentions really clear, which I think is great because Danielle, hasn't been in this world in a minute. She's from Nick's season like 5 years ago. She did a season of Paradise. She doesn't want to get thrown into this feeling like she has to get engaged. So I think it's great that Michael set his intentions. And I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people are, thinking that, that whole Sierra breakup was sketchy. But I also saw someone tweet something like, listen, you can still feel bad for Sierra, but realize that Michael and Danielle are way more compatible and just make more sense. And I think that they
Mm-hmm.
do make sense, and I think that they're going to date because we need to talk about this since it's public knowledge. Wells Adams had a wedding; it was in Vogue, so everyone can see it. This is not even a spoiler. And Danielle and Michael were sitting next to each other at the wedding, and even in the picture in Vogue, they were like almost holding each other arm in arm. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
is it safe to say that they're still together as just boyfriend and girlfriend now?
I mean, it's safe to say they were definitely still together at the wedding. I mean, they took a whole Bachelor Nation photo, just like they do. I mean, they took one at Ben Higgins' weddings too. Like everyone who's there from
Mm-hmm.
Bachelor takes a photo together. They were right next to each other in the middle of the photo, which is like kind of funny to me. I'm like, you couldn't have even gone on like either sides of the group. Nope, they were right there. So I mean, as of their wedding, they're together. They probably aren't allowed to say much until Bachelor in Paradise wraps, but it was
Mm-hmm.
definitely, it wasn't even like something that someone sneakily caught. It was right there in the forefront.
I know, and like the picture I saw, like Sofia Vergara was in it, and like the whole Modern family. So, I mean, I think we, can probably assume how this ends for them. But also, as you mentioned, Allison, that wedding was like over like 2 months ago. So, you never know. But it's weird because they ended up disappearing, and then even the next day
Mm-hmm.
when the swap happened, they're still gone. So. This is what I think happened. I think that Michael A is the producer's favorites, and I think that they just gave them an overnight date.
Is it this? I thought the swap happened that same day while they were out on the boat.
Oh, you think so? I thought it was like the next
Yeah.
day.
I don't think so
Oh,
because
okay.
typically how we've been seeing these dates is we are missing chunks. I don't know why we're missing so many details when the episodes are so long and this show is going on for as long as it is. For as dragged on as a ton of stuff seems, I don't know why we're not finishing dates. I would swap that out for Aaron's shower footage any day. But I'm pretty sure
Oh,
a
some
lot
of
of
us
these
like
dates
that.
have shown like daytime portions, but we'll miss a dinner portion or we'll miss a nighttime
Hmm.
portion, and then it's not until it's dark outside and they're all gathered around the bar that these people come back like hand in hand. So from my interpretation,
Yeah.
we just missed that dinner or nighttime portion like we typically do, and they kind of zoomed through that to watch the swap, and then we're waiting on them to come back. I think it's the same day.
Yeah. But also viewers are always complaining about how long the show is. So if they really do show everything, everyone's going to be like, "Oh, now we need 3 hours." I mean, the only other way to solve that would just to have less cast members. I feel like there's so many
Mm-hmm.
people, but I'm wondering if Michael and Danielle are going to come back to the beach, or do we think that they're just going to end up separating to the guys and the girls side, because I feel like they're so solid. I can't even imagine them entertaining anyone else. And we didn't even see them in the preview. So I'm like, maybe they went on a honeymoon vacation.
Truly, maybe they just left the two of them, and it is a weird thing because they're going to come back to like a completely new group, and then everyone else is trying to find new connections. Like I feel like they'll just be the odd
Hmm.
people out, but it also doesn't make sense to just split them up.
Well, just put them on a honeymoon. Like, honestly, put them like on a random condo. Like, who cares at this point? Like, there's clearly no rules in paradise. They are just making things up as they go. Like Danielle coming in
Mm-hmm.
at the last minute. It kind of felt like Becca last year when she came in at the last minute.
Yeah.
So who knows what will happen to them? But let's talk about the split. I did like what Johnny said though to Victoria F about the amusement park. That's where he would take her after the show, because we haven't seen much of them as a couple, but they're so solid, and everybody was rolling when Victoria was like, "Johnny asked me why I looked different today, and it was because I'm not wearing makeup." Not the best day to do that. What did you think?
I know, I was loving that. It's just like such a classic girl thing too. And it's just like it's impossible also like being on the beach, you're sweaty, there's no AC. You can't possibly look good all the time. And in my opinion, Victoria does look excellent all of the time, but I can feel you
She's
where
so good.
especially if it's time to split up and leave a lasting impression, you want to be like full beat looking great. Um
Hmm.
but yeah, I think their connection is really sweet. I very much like it. I like the amusement park idea, but yeah, Victoria is funny. I like her humor, and I hope that they are one of the couples that just like maintains the connection through the split and doesn't fall apart because of it, because I actually think they could really work in the real world.
I mean, they seem more solid than some of the other girls. I felt like Victoria was one of the girls comforting, Jill and Genevieve and Shanae,
Mhm.
because she's a little bit more solid with Johnny. But basically, what happened is Jesse comes in, he tells the group of girls that they're leaving, they're going to a new um, area. What did he say? It started with a P.
Well, the place that they go to stay is like called the Estates. I don't like they
Yeah,
he just keeps
yeah.
referencing the Estates. Yeah.
I think he said like a new residence. Like it was just like this weird word.
Mm.
They're going to somewhere else, and the girls are all gonna have meltdowns. But before they leave, we have 5 new girls show up: Sarah, Eliza, Kate from Clayton season, Jasenia from Matt season. She was also on Paradise last year, and then Florence, who is from Australia. And I mean, these 5 new girls are now going to start socializing with the guys. And we saw for next week that the girls who are separated are going to get new guys to socialize with. So, out of these 5 new girls, I mean, who do you think is going to kind of, break up one of these couples? Because I think Eliza and Rodney seem like they're vibing.
Oh, totally. And Rodney said, like, Eliza was on his short list, like, of people he really wanted to meet on the
Hmm.
beach. So you combine that immediate interest or having his eye out for Eliza with the fact that, unless we're missing something, the connection between Rodney and Lace has kind of seemed a little bit random. Even Wells had that little interview
Hmm.
moment where he's like, there's always a couple that makes absolutely no sense. And this season, it's Rodney and Lace. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think I could see Rodney pursuing Eliza in lieu of Lace. Jasenia's back. We saw her on the beach last summer. I'm intrigued by Kate. I believe Kate is the real estate agent that worked at the Oppenheim group. People like figured
Yeah.
out, And like we never really delved into that, but you know, like as we've seen on Selling Sunset, like these agents are cutthroat. They will tell you like it is. They will go after what they want. So if Kate's anything like our girl Christine Quinn, we might need to keep our eye on her.
No, Kate is here to cause some damage. Like, I know that for a fact. And I think she's going to go for Logan. And I also think that Sarah's going to be going for Logan. So I think there might be like some type of love triangle there. And then we
Mm.
kind of saw in the trailer, Jasenia was making out with Andrew S. Eliza is definitely, into Rodney, vice versa. And then I don't know what's going to happen with Florence. Because I just feel like Johnny, Brandon, and Aaron are just not going to entertain anyone else. But what do you think about Jacob? Do you think he would be open to Florence?
Definitely. I mean, I just feel like Jacob, and maybe he will surprise all of us. I feel like Jacob is one of the guys that gives me this energy of like more goofy, more low key. I mean, he and Jill worked because of their sense of humor and their kind of go with the flow energy. It's why they were both down to just strip naked on national television. So I can see him translating that into, well, who knows? And I'll pursue this. And you're pretty, and let's just see where it goes. Like he's just this very like fun, go with the flow, casual person. So I could see, yeah, Florence or probably any of these girls. If any of these girls are interested in Jacob, I could see him just like trying it out for at least an afternoon or a night, or like see if their connection is the same or better than his and Jill's.
Well, I think I also saw Aaron making out with Jasenia in the trailer too, which is kind of interesting because they were in Paradise together last year.
I know. I
So like they're
ugh,
obviously good
that I
friends.
don't like that. I'm not a fan of that
Genevieve
couple
is
for some
like
reason.
no, and I don't think that Andrew and Jasenia make sense either. I also don't think Andrew and Brittany make sense either at all. I think that the girls crying, like let's talk about that. And then we can kind of talk about some of the new guys and give our predictions. But like these girls were so dramatic, and like I get it
Ooh.
because like I mean, this they didn't expect this. Everyone's seen Paradise. This is the first time in 8 years. So I think that they were just so shocked and blindsided and like, they were comfortable with their guys, but it's just like, come on. Like this is a reality show. Like for whatever reason, The Bachelor's been on so long that everybody thinks that they just have the highest standard. Like, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna go home. Like, it's a reality show. Like, why do these people expect to be like not surprised when crazy things happen?
I don't know. And again, like you said, nothing like this has ever happened before. So maybe they felt like they were emotionally prepped. And then let's be honest, even if you do prep for anything, once you're in the scenario, it's so much more heightened and it feels so much more like life or death. But if I also were to like sit down with these women, knowing that I've never been in their shoes, knowing that I don't know all the pressures, and if I was just gonna try and like hype them up to be girl bosses, I would say like, why are you, breaking down so much? If they are going to turn around and go make out or go to the boom boom room with any of these new girls that they've known for 2 hours, you wouldn't have wanted to be with them anyways. They clearly weren't that into you. They clearly aren't ready for an engagement. If they're not willing to wait for you, like, why are you sitting around crying about them? I think it's better to just like, you do you. If you want to stick to your guns and wait for them and not touch another man, do that. And then if you return and they've been with someone else, it's going to be really hurtful, but it's going to be a clear indicator that they're not your guy. Or if you want to try on
This is a
something else and then you go
test.
back and tell them, just like stick by your own decisions, try to get out of your head about what they're doing. You'll know soon enough. And then you'll know really who you're trying to date / get engaged to at the end of the day.
The distance it's only going to be a few days. Like everyone can relax. Like it's probably going to be like 3 days. So I think that at the end of the day, like you said, it will honestly speed things up. You'll know who's solid with you. And it's also the only way for this to work because we've seen so many times in the past when people come at the end, they have no chance. So now that there's no distractions and there's no couples, that like, you don't have to have those awkward conversations if you want to flirt with other people. Like this is the perfect opportunity. So I think it works. I
Mm-hmm.
like this twist a lot. I think Jill and Genevieve are the most dramatic contestants we've ever had on the show in like the history of the show. Like I said, I think we definitely feel for the girls. But that was just crazy. I guess that's what happens when you have the producers. They put up these situations. They want to see them freak out, and that's what happened. So some of the new guys that are coming are Olu, Tyler, Alex, Rick, and then there's like an Australian guy. What do you think is gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen? Like, which couples do you think will fall apart?
I want to know if we ever reunite these two groups, if the Australian guy and the Australian girl know each other, if there is any sort of like romantic relationship
Ooh.
history there. I'm not well educated on the Australian branch of the franchise, but I mean, I think Tyler is going to become a hot commodity. Again, no one's really going to know him or have any sort of like preconceived notions about him because they weren't able to watch Gabby and Rachel's season before going down to the beach. Um, and yeah, I don't. Olu is a great guy. I mean, he's just buff, but maybe I'd say Olu
Mm.
and Tyler will be like the top two contenders. I just don't know enough about Rick really to say if he'll be like a sought after commodity.
Well, Rick was like always been good looking, but I think he's just really shy and quiet. So I think he just needs to find the
Mm.
right girl that's gonna like him. I know that Olu was saying on like a podcast that like he wanted to be with Eliza and like vice versa. So I don't know what there's no rules. So you just never know. Like, could people swap from one beach to the other? Like, what if
Mm-hmm.
they did that? What if they just switched the girls? Like, or switch the guys? Like, they could do that.
Or like switched part of them. Like, could like two of them get in a van and go down to the beach
Yeah.
and then have to like
I
return?
don't
Like they could
know.
just go for like a little cocktail time and come back.
I
Oof.
don't know, but I think that we can all agree that like Brandon and Serene are going to be so solid, and Michael and Danielle, and then anyone else? Maybe no, I don't know about Aaron and Genevieve. Like yes and no, and then Victoria and Johnny. I think.
I feel like we might be pleasantly surprised by Aaron and Genevieve just because it's like they give us the vibes that like they're I mean they're both very attractive people and like probably will have options, but maybe they're gonna give us a plot twist and just like stick by one another. I mean, Shanae's already gone between a couple different guys. I could see her maybe being open to possibility. I mean, you said we've seen clips of Andrew and Jasenia like making out.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly he's gonna be interacting with her. I'm trying to look at this cast here. And the Jacob, like I said earlier, I
Yeah.
could see Jacob just kind of being flexible too. And clearly Jill is
Yeah.
very hung up on Jacob because of how many tears she has cried.
But I also think Logan is gonna like play around, like I said. But we'll see though, because like
Mm-hmm.
obviously Jill is hung up on Jacob, but Victoria also said that like Jill finally felt chosen. Like who knows if Jill could? I could see her hitting it off with one of the other guys. I feel like she would be open to it. And I think it just shows how when people reacted, it just kind of shows like how solid they feel. Like Serene was
Mm-hmm.
not sweating. Victoria was not sweating. Like if you have to be worried about your man, like that's when you know.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to know too as the days continue. Like, do more people crack? Does Jill, dry her tears and just decide, well, I have the opportunity. I might as well see if someone else here will choose me or make me feel chosen, like you said. So I think the time
Mm.
element is also going to be crucial because it's not just one night away from each other, it's days. And that can be really dangerous in Bachelor Nation as we see with something like fantasy suites, when you're sitting in a hotel room just ruminating on what the person you like is doing.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens because we really don't know exactly how this is going to shake out, which is why I like the twist. I'm here for it. I don't know. I also don't think anyone else is coming in. I think that this is the end of the arrivals. We know that well, maybe I don't know
Oh.
because we know the show goes on until November 22nd. There's like 2 nights a week. We know they're going to be shooting the reunion November 4th. So they'll shoot that like 2 weeks before they air it. Do you think there's going to be more new arrivals though? Because I don't think we've seen anyone else in a trailer that's not showing up now.
Well, unless we're trying to keep it a secret, I'm looking at my calendar here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 more
10 more
episodes.
episodes? What?
Yeah. Well, not counting tonight's. 1, 2, 3, 4,
So,
5, 6, 7,
but
8,
you
9,
got
10,
to agree,
11.
it's too
11 counting
long.
tonight. It's
It's too
it's
many
way too
episodes.
long, especially because it was the exact week after Gabby and Rachel's season. Give me like at least a month in between seasons to just like revamp, to not have to watch, to not, and like the thing is like it's, you and I have talked about this before as the other shared news hosts like have, it's not just like watching for fun. Like we take notes, like we are meticulous. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need a breather.
But like even the fans who don't even take notes, they're still exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. This is a lot of episodes. I think I mentioned to you that like some other alumni are going to be coming. I don't know for
Yep.
how long, but that could be a way to fill space because I think that I don't think anyone else is showing up because I feel like I've seen the trailer and have kind of like heard everything, and I just don't. I can't think of one new name that's not going to show up tonight. So maybe this twist is just going to extend, or maybe I'm just forgetting something. But this is Jacob
Yeah.
and Kate,
I mean,
right?
yeah.
Is that Jacob though?
Yes. I told you he was flexible. He
Interesting.
is ready to go. And then this is Brittany and Tyler.
Tyler. Yeah,
So
Brittany and
Brittany's
Tyler,
clearly
I
not that
definitely think
invested in
vibe.
Andrew.
But it's like, how are they going to switch sides? Because Brittany is, oh yeah, she's going to meet Tyler, and then Andrew might meet Jasenia. Who's this?
I can't see with it that dark. I'm not sure.
Well, it's a
A
beautiful
mystery.
two-piece top.
It's a
Well, I
lovely
think we'll have to
outfit.
kind of see. It's a lovely outfit. I think we'll have to kind of see what happens tonight and on the rest of the season. We'll still be talking about it and giving our predictions and commentary each week. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you're always up to date with all things shared news. I am your host, Zachary Reality, with the one and only. Ah, ah, ah.
Allison Van Dam. I didn't know I was saying my own name.
And thank you all so much for watching. We will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.